presenters, and we have Nathan Johnson and William Strength. Nathan is a father, a co-parent, a co-founder, and board chair of Dadspeak. Nathan is a single father of 2 girls, full custody of one, and 50-50 co-parenting of the other. He knows the importance of having both parents present in the life of a child, which is why he has made sure to help facilitate the relationships between the children and their mothers. William Strength is a Head Start parent alumni, political science and social work major, public speaker, advocate for early education, co-founder and director of Dadspeak. Born into a broken home filled with violence and neglect with very little fatherhood involvement, William grew up with 0 fatherhood skills. It was Head Start's male involvement initiative that helped him gain the skills and confidence to become a better father and inspired him to create Dadspeak, an organization dedicated to helping fathers become great dads. So William, do you want to give a wave so everybody knows who William is? Okay, Nathan? Okay.
Cheryl, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm sorry. I am Cheryl George. I'm a Deputy Attorney General, and I am on the board of the Children's Trust Fund. So enjoy the presentation, and don't forget to do your evaluations at the end, and I will remind you to do so at the end. William, Nathan, take it on.
All right, we'll take it away. Where to start here? All right. As it was said, this session is focused on fatherhood initiatives. That's the part I'm going to talk about here. My partner here, Nathan, he's going to talk about co-parenting and the struggles and the benefits and things that can happen there. So fatherhood initiatives, these are the things that help to build relationships, fathers with their children. Different kind of things that I do and that we do within Dadspeak and to build those are fairly simple whenever you think about it. It's reading to them, 10, 15 minutes. I'm reading the Harry Potter series. And even whenever my 18-year-old is home from college, she'll come and sit down and listen while we read. Playing board games, talking chess, tossing around the football, frisbee outside, any kind of outside recreation, even just chasing them around the yard. Dates with just the kid or kids. It really bonds and really builds that connectivity. Bonding over TV, movie series. Just got the whole family to watch the whole Marvel series, and we're all very invested. And as much as my wife didn't want to watch it, she got involved too, and so the kids really enjoyed that. But also not just watching the ones you like. My 15-year-old daughter just got me watching this Olympic gymnastics show called Make It or Break It. Didn't really care for it, but I made sure I learned the names of the characters and got involved in the drama, and that really made her feel good about something that we were doing together. But it really comes down to being there and showing up and being about them and just hearing them out, and recognizing and helping with the dadly, momly type duties, depending on age, feeding, bathing, helping brush teeth, teaching to drive, although very dangerous and not recommended. Those uncomfortable talks, like sex and dating, are the things that I've taken on and discuss with my daughters, and I'll teach my sons how to act in relationships and how they should be treating women going forward, and how my daughters should expect to be treated as women. You just grit through those, and it builds a trust that is unexplainable. Now we've talked about what kind of things we can do to build those relationships, right? But what kind of barriers come in whenever you're talking about male involvement? Well, custody agreements can get in the way, which I'm going to let Nathan talk a little bit more about that, because that goes into the co-parenting and respect between parents, along with jail and incarceration. And I mean, there are programs out there for children with incarcerated parents, and those things can get in the way. Stereotyping is a big one, though. It's to me, it's probably one of the biggest, and that's where men allow themselves to get in their own way, right? So, like, it's a mother's job to be nurturing. Men's job is to earn the money and discipline. Well, this isn't true. It's so equal between mother and father, and mother and mother, father and father, of doing those nurturing things. Teaching a child how to take care of a baby. Even just, your son comes in with a baby, show them that you embrace that. Co-parenting breakdown is another huge one, and that's, the father's unable to afford his child support, right? Sometimes it's a spite over dissolution of the relationship and how that works. I'm gonna let Nathan talk a little bit more about that. But the one part of it that I want to talk about is the conflicting parenting views, even within the house. How to raise the children, how to discipline the children, bedtimes, eating habits. I know a lot of families, my family, have dual working, both parents work in our home, right? So that limits the amount of time that parents can be at home, right? So if the father's working an evening job, so he's not even home whenever the kids are up, that makes it difficult. And so trying to find times to engage the children when you're not even home to engage them. It can be a simple phone call. It can be a quick 5-minute phone call on a break, if that's allowable. We as men, for decades, maybe even centuries, have gotten in our own way whenever it comes to nurturing and raising and male involvement, right? So thinking that we're not good enough, don't know what to do. It's easier to let her do it, doctor's visits, dentist appointments, taking them to ballet, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Show up and be there, right? Don't have the means, or even going as far as having a new spouse or significant others with kids in that home also makes it hard to juggle both families. Now, how can we help? How can we help men to overcome some of these barriers? Well, first off, get involved with Dadspeak. Shameless plug, I know. The incarceration part is difficult, but helping to avoid being incarcerated, we grow from who we have around us. So becoming the kind of friend that you want to have and expecting to have those kind of friends, because that's the kind of friend you are, can really go a long way to avoiding those situations that put you in cuffs. That's how it worked for me. Back like 15 years ago, got involved with Head Start and the male involvement piece that goes along with Head Start. We created Super Dads here in Pocatello, Chubbuck. And I'm getting involved with these like-minded fathers who want to be good dads, sometimes even think we're good dads, but we're not really doing everything we need to be doing. and just kind of building towards that, and gaining momentum in a realm that we're not really certain in, right? So getting involved with parenting classes, Love and Logic, those kind of things. My favorite though is men aren't going to come up and say, hey, how can I help? Or what can I do to be a better father? It's just not in us. It's a stupid pride thing. So as leaders, we have to recognize this and go to them and say, hey, look, and this is where voluntold comes in, practice handed down for the many years of Head Start. Going to them and saying, hey, look, I got this that I need done. I think you'd be perfect for it. We're not going to say no. No. Instead, we're going to take that idea and we're going to run with it. We're going to make it bigger and more complex than it probably needs to be, but we're going to get very, very involved, right? And so we're going to invest. We're going to invest our time. We're going to invest our experience. We're going to learn. We're going to grow. So, it can come down to having a bowling event. Hey, I really need a male, or I really need you to help oversee these kids, make sure nobody gets hurt. Well, that dad is going to get very involved, right? They're going to be very dedicated to making sure nobody is hurt. We will do whatever you ask us. It's just the way it works. It's the way male psyche works, except the honey-do list. We still have to be reminded every 6 months to do that. So, the job hours things, that can make things difficult, as I've spoken. But make the time that you do get to spend with your kids count. I'm very fortunate. I've got my kids in my home all the time. I've got a wife who makes sure that I'm well taken care of, makes sure the kids are well taken care of. So I get to be 100% dad 20% of the time, and it's okay, or 20% dad 100% of the time. I'm not sure how the math goes, but a lot of times this doesn't work out that way. Work is important, right? So we have to be able to provide for our children. They don't understand why we have to be gone. They know we go to work. They don't really understand the dollar signs of it, the bills of it. So even 10 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of building some blocks, even if it's just on a weekend, I'm a couch potato. I like my Hulu. I like to sit there and click the remote, watch my football. But I got to make sure that I am, as a father, leading my child better than that. So I peel away from my TV, from my video games, and I go and I read to the boys, read to my daughter. Like I said, playing with some blocks, teaching my daughter how to drive. Whatever it is, even just a simple conversation of how was your week? What did you learn today? It builds miles and miles of relationship roads, even just 10 minutes a day of that. Kids don't need grandiose, and that's what we as men need to learn. We just need to show up and be involved. Show them that we love them, show them that we care. With that, I'm going to hand this over to Nathan, and he's going to talk about some of the ins and outs of what he's experienced with co-parenting. So, Nathan, it's yours.
Thanks, Will. Now, I want to start off by saying I have never been accused of being a loud person, so if anybody needs me to speak up, just let me know. I will try and speak a little bit louder. And this is not a subject that I can cover in a day. If you spent from midnight to midnight, all of the things that I have learned from the interactions I have had with my children's mothers, I could not possibly go into even half of it in a day. So to start off, I've got 2 kids that are biologically mine, and then I've got 4 god kids, and then I have a girlfriend who has 3 children that we've been dating for 3 years now, and they've basically accepted me in as their stepdad, and they'll call me and talk to me about things. So it started off in the beginning. I just, me and my first baby mama, for lack of a better word, decided we were going to have a kid together, and that seemed like a good idea, but we were not a healthy relationship at any point in our time. So that made things specifically more complicated as our daughters started to grow up, and we were in 2 separate households, not getting along, putting all of that, not intentionally, of course, putting that on our child, but obviously all of the stresses came in. We put all that on our children. And then I got into another relationship and had another child, and that one, she apparently was a drug addict in the closet, and I did not know that. And so then that brought us into a series of custody battles between 2 different mothers, going on continuously and trying to maintain some semblance of care and love and affection, and not get lost in the weeds of how the world works when you're not paying attention. So the dynamic between my oldest daughter and the families is pretty simple. She's got a mom, she's got a dad, their immediate families, extended families, so on and so forth. It's pretty easy to come by. And then I've got my younger daughter, who I have full custody of. She has 3 older brothers. She was in foster care for 4 months, so we've been keeping contact with them, trying to keep contact with all of the brothers, and also trying to maintain contact and accessibility with her mom, which gets specifically harder when people are in jail. She's been out of jail and in jail several times over the past few years, but currently she is out of jail, and she will answer phone calls and occasionally give us a little bit of time to let my daughter know that she still loves her. But when it comes down to how you get there, you start off with custody. And custody, no matter how you try and make it work, how you spend all of your time saying, I want what's best for my child, you will always be wrong. Like every custody battle that I have ever heard of, ever seen, ever helped walk somebody through, ever talked to somebody about, they're always looking at this is at some point a thing and not where I devote my affection. And that's the hardest thing to get through when you're trying to learn to co-parent, is that your child comes first. Your child needs time, energy, love and affection, needs to have a healthy relationship, which on its own is a completely complex issue. But at some point in that process of going through custody, you are going to get selfish, and you have to check yourself somehow. That's one of the things I talk to just about everybody I talk to is this for your child? And they will always tell you yes. Every single time I've ever heard it, it's, yeah, no, I'm definitely doing this for my child. It's like, okay, so your child wants a toy, and you can't get them that toy because you're going through a custody battle, and so the money for the custody battle is more important. And you're right, but you need to acknowledge what they need as well as what you need. Like you can't be a second-class citizen, but you can't make them a second-class citizen. You have to include them in the process, set up boundaries, and let them know when you can get that toy, or whether or not you can get a different toy. Maybe make some sort of compromise with them. Hey, I can't get you the toy, but let's go and hang out at the park for a little while. And then it's going to be through the custody battle, you're going to learn whether or not you want to, that you have to have some respect for the other parent. Right? If you disrespect the other parent, it doesn't matter how you try and present it to your children. You disrespect somebody, and your children are going to see that. And that's been a common theme through several custody battles and mediations and so on and so forth. That you have to resign yourself to the idea that this other person, at some point, you loved them and respected them, and even if it was unhealthy, you have to realize that part of that unhealthy relationship was yourself, and you have to grow into the idea that I have to treat them better so that I can learn to, be treated, or so I can be treated better, and I can learn to treat my child better. And custody is one of the most brutal places to find out that you were wrong on how you treat people, because I've been there and I've said, oh no, I really definitely need 50% custody specifically for my child. And it wasn't until our second round of mediation that I went, oh, maybe I don't, right? Because what's 50% custody? They're talking about where a child sleeps at night. They're not talking about who takes care of them throughout the day. You're not talking about who buys the groceries, gets them to school. You're not talking about any of that. You're talking about where do you lay your head at night? And that is a legal system, right? That doesn't actually mean your child is better off in this specific space, right? So you have to make concessions on where your priorities lie. Are your priorities with, hey, I don't want to pay 1 day a week child support, which I've heard that from many men as well. If she gets 1 extra day a week, I have to pay more in child support, and I can't afford that. Well, you should bring that up with her, and you should bring that up with your lawyers, and you should bring that up with all of the people involved, so that everybody knows your financial situation doesn't allow for you to pay more in child support. And it might be that you have to get a second job, or you might have to do other things, which allows your child to have more time with another parent. And that's a good thing. Having more time with your parents, being involved, is good, no matter how much you trust the other person, how much you think they're a horrible person or whatever. You have to believe that your child needs to spend time with them. And that is a struggle I see men have all the time. I'm on the phone 4 or 5 days a week with one guy who he will not give up on how horrible his ex-wife is. And every time I'd be like, man, you got to take that outside. You got to calm down. You got to take a minute to step away from the situation, reassess where you are, what your goal is. Do you want your child to be happy? Yeah, I want my child to be happy. Okay, this is not making you happy, but it would make your child happy. Spending a few minutes here and there, you live in a different town than his mom. So when she can make it, give her the time if you have it. If you have the availability, let her come and hang out. And every time he's thankful that I stop him from being like, no, I'm not gonna let you hang out today. And it's hard. Full custody of my younger daughter has taught me that I have to sit back and say, I don't like you, I don't trust you, I don't have any good things to say about you, but I also know that she loves you and she wants to know that you love her. So safety, as long as we're following safety, I have to say, it's okay. Go hang out with your mom, talk to your mom, give your mom a call, let your mom know that you love her. I guarantee she'll love you back. And even though I don't have any particularly good things to say about her, I have to say those things, right? And if she calls up and says, hey, I would like to do this. I want to take her to dinner for her birthday. I want to do this. I have to, of course, follow the safety plan and say, okay, where are you going to be? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? How do you get to and from? What are your, who's going to be there? What happens if somebody who is not on an approved list shows up? What are you going to do in that case? But it's something that I have to go through and process and say, hey, that's not me. She's not doing that for me, and I'm not doing this for her. It's all about our child, and our child deserves this. It might just be 5-10 minutes. But just like Will was saying, 5-10 minutes means a lot. If you can just say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, I'm gonna swing by, is that okay? Don't say no. If you can avoid saying no, don't say no. And then let them have their time and their space. Don't try and get involved on top of it. There are definitely times in which this is not the best plan. That will all be 100% in a safety related thing. Like I said, my daughter's mom can't drive, so she obviously can't be the one who drives over and picks her up. She's just not good at it. We're not going to have any more conversations about it than we've already had in the past, unless she goes and takes a new driving course and shows me a recommendation that she should be able to drive now. I'm going to say no. But if she calls up and says, yeah, I got a cab, I'd like to take her to McDonald's, eat at McDonald's, and just bring her back. Okay, who's going to be there? What's going to happen? Because children need that, right? And parents need that too, right? Even me, I think in the last 5 years, I've spent 4 nights where my daughter was having a sleepover with somebody else, and it was, those were rough nights. But I also needed those nights to realize that at some point she's gonna have to get out of the house. She's gonna have to go do her own thing. She has to go to school all the time. She has to interact with other kids. So that's a thing I'm gonna have to get used to. If it's safe, if it's okay, she needs to have time away from me, and I need to have time away from her. Not often, but occasionally we need to have a little bit of time away. And that's where what you do with parenting time really comes in. Because if your child shows up and you've got to do an exchange with, the ex, and you guys are just yelling at each other while you're doing the exchange, and then you're 20 minutes from now and you're still ticked off about something that the other person did or said. My older daughter's mom continuously parks to block the driveway. It irritates me every time. So I just don't go out there when she's dropping her off, because I just hate having my driveway blocked. I'm not going anywhere. My daughter just showed up. It irritates me, and then you have to step back and say, that's not best for my daughter, because I'll be angry 20 minutes from now. So if you know something that triggers you, to just don't partake in it, and who gets to spend what time with who, right? Your child wants to spend time with everybody all the time. If everybody she's ever met could be in the same room at one time, both of my daughters would be happy. They wouldn't care if they ate for 3 days, if all of the people they cared about were in the same room at the same time. That can't happen. So you've got to make the most of it, right? So I can play with my child all afternoon into the evening. We can go to bed, get up, and start over again. But for how long? I could do that for a couple of days without getting, emotionally drained, tired. I'd probably be emotionally happy, but still drained. And it really comes down to, if you could all change off every 5 minutes, everybody to have a little bit of time in which they're putting everything they possibly could into a child. Schedules won't allow that. Timing won't allow that. But that is the ideal, is everybody spends a short, significant burst of love and affection and then switches to the next person. The whole "it takes a village" thing is more pronounced when you're talking about a co-parenting situation. So my younger daughter, with the complexities that she has, some days she's here all day. Some days she goes to school and she really loves hanging out with her friends. some days she hangs out with her foster family. Some days she hangs out with her brother. Some days she hangs out with my daughter's family, my older daughter's family. So it is a very complicated world for her. But that one bounces around the house being happy 99% of the time because I can allow it. I can allow the time for her to go out and interact with more people. And more interaction with more people, I think, makes her a stronger child, makes her more resilient to anything. You know, sometimes she'll hang out with my girlfriend's family, and she grows every time because of it. She would not care about her television or her tablet or any of that stuff if she just had somebody else to play with who wasn't tired. And that is the ultimate goal, is to make her happy, give her as much love and affection as possible, and try and promote a better future and a better lifestyle. And so, yeah, if you have any, sorry, Will was saying something. If you have any questions about that, please type them in the chat or ask them, and we're going to be happy to answer any of the questions that you guys have. Got some more questions coming up here. Hold on.
Okay, so we've got a question here about events and resources. Dadspeak sponsoring during COVID. It's gone pretty slow right now. We've got plans to restore with working with our local library here. We've got sponsorships from Home Depot for some woodworking projects, doing some read-ins, doing some movie nights, stuff like that. Obviously, COVID put everything on hold with that, since our main collaborator is the Portneuf Library. So we'll be getting all that up onto our Facebook page and our website and everything here shortly.
The website is under constructions, but we're trying as hard as we can, but we still manage life and children. As far as the question to do Idaho courts favor moms in custody battles, that's a much longer answer than I think anybody has time for. The short version is not really. The perception is yes, but the short version is Idaho courts don't favor moms in custody battles. But that is a much deeper.
I feel like if you go into it with the mindset that you're going to get, as a man, you're going to get screwed over going into court, you've already lost. So don't go into it with that mindset. Go into it fighting for your child's best interest. That's all that really matters in the end.
As far as how do parents find us, a lot of it is just word of mouth at this point, because I obviously work with individuals who then say, hey, there's a guy I talk to a couple of times a week. Maybe give him a call and maybe you guys hang out. And most of the time I'll get introductions from another father that said, hey, here's this guy I'd like you to meet, and get an introduction and start the conversation, because men, especially in a custody battle or in a co-parenting arrangement, do not trust anybody. Like, that's part of the reason custody battles are silly. They don't trust anybody, so they're going to not trust you. So you have to start building a rapport with them, start making them come to the table ready to talk about their kids and how they can be better at it. Head Start program.
Where
Right.
are there specific things in the Head Start program to help you become more engaged? I put it down to one specific person, and it was the family services coordinator, I think is what she was called. It's Kaylin White. She's been like a mom to me. She's the one that got me involved with the male involvement piece. The teacher of my three-year-old class for my oldest daughter, she told my wife about this program or about this male involvement meeting. And my wife and her both pushed me to go to it. Didn't want to go, but they told me there'd be pizza, and I follow my nose. So I went to the male involvement meeting. Met some pretty cool dudes. And then at that first meeting, they talked about changing the name because it just had this real kind of stale vibe to it. So we created Super Dads, and it just took off from there. And so the more I got involved with that, the more I got involved with other things within Head Start, going into the classroom, reading to the kids, got involved with policy and got on to policy council. Did that for 3 years. Went up to Boise as a part of policy council. Spoke with legislators, and so that got me into the political game of understanding the in and outs of how things work with Head Start and with just policy in Idaho as in general. And so it just really grew my love for that program and made me realize, you know what, there's a lot of men out there who aren't involved, don't know what to do to be involved. Maybe their kids were in Head Start but are no longer, and they weren't able to be a part of the kid's life at the time. Maybe they just missed the opportunity. It was there and they just didn't grab it at the time. And so me and my partner here, Nathan, we just sat and we talked and we brainstormed and we talked and just frustrated with the lack of things like Super Dads, no involvement that was in our community. And so I took that Head Start Super Dads model and moved it over into Dadspeak.
And one of the things that we originally started off talking about, because Will had done a lot with Head Start, was when I got full custody of my younger daughter, people would walk up to me on the street and say, "Oh my God, you're a great dad." And that's a perception of any dad spending any amount of time with their child is a great dad. So that's the high bar.
That's the mold that we want to break, you know.
We got an audio question from Malia.
I think that was for.
Oh, okay.
I think that was for another.
Now
we're trying to train. No, go ahead.
See, we did.
Oh, hey, we did.
Go ahead.
Finish your thought.
He lost.
I don't remember.
OMG. Anyways, I'm totally impressed by you gentlemen. I really appreciate you speaking at this conference. I got really excited to hear from you and to hear that we have this in our area. It's very inspiring. So thank you for all that you do. What I wanted to, and also, yeah, if there's pizza, excuse me, of course we're gonna show up. Girls show up for pizza. But I guess my question is, and maybe you both can answer it, or maybe one of you, and it may be a little bit more personal, but, you know, just from speaking from my own experiences in my family, so your moms teach you how to act, but your dads teach you how to be treated. So in the world that we're living in right now, being fathers of daughters, how do you treat, with our Head Start program, how do you teach your daughters to not be victims, but also to be able to stand up for themselves? Because we're living in that world where you see all of these videos of girls getting hit, but them hitting back. And with the Head Start program, it teaches us, like, hitting is just not okay, period. But how do you teach your daughters to not be the victims? And how do you teach them, but how do you still empower them as dads?
So, okay. Again, this is, the simple answer is I live by what we call the bro code at our house. My children have to follow the one and only rule, and that is you'll never leave a bro hanging. It doesn't matter how you interpret that rule. That rule is set up for, are you going out with your friends? Your friend doesn't get left behind. Is there a car broken down on the side of the road? You stop, you help. That is, everybody's your bro until at some point they show you that they're not, So my older daughter took some karate. It's something that I'm going to get my younger daughter into when she lessens up on her right hook a little bit. She's got a pretty solid right hook at this point. But I don't want them to have to fight. I would love for them to live in a world that's not the thing that happens, right? Like, I tell my oldest daughter's mom this all the time. I would love to train her that way, to be in this world that you want to have existed. But I also have to say, this is the world as it is, right? And specifically with my younger daughter, she's a quarter black, and she sees all of this stuff going on right now. And I have to say, okay, we have to step back and take this at a different perspective than what you're seeing. Because there's realities and there's falsities and there's a whole inner web of a rabbit hole that you could go down and find yourself at the bottom and continue digging deeper, right? Mm-hmm. So self-actualization is a huge thing. When you come home from school, did you get your homework done? Yeah, I did my homework in class. We're going to high five every time. And yes, you have to high five because your bro's hanging. And if you're going to go and hang out with people, they're your bros. You take care of your own safety, but also make sure that they don't step out in the street, right? You can't be looking out for your friends and not leaving your friends hanging and trying to love everyone and let people walk down a path that is going to end them in pain, right? My buddy Major does this daily. I literally talk to him every day. And every day he has a new story of drama and pain for himself. 45 years worth of pain will do that to you. So we talk all the time, and I try and steer him back off of that. And I let my kids watch. No, I don't let them watch his breakdown, but I let them know it was okay that he broke down, and we're going to build him back up and try and show them how.
I'd like to share a couple of personal stories on your question too. So a big part for me is my kids watch how I treat their mother. I'm fortunate that I've got a role model that my daughters can see. My wife has an expectation of how I should treat her. If she's crying, I should be the one comforting her. If she's got a problem, I should be the one helping her. Me and my wife fight, like every couple. We do our best not to fight with the kids, but they know. Kids know everything. They're not stupid, right? Me and my wife were in a stupid fight the other day. I can't even remember what it was. It got escalated. Not even 5 minutes later, it was done. We're both apologizing. And my daughter comes to me. She goes, I don't get it. You guys were at ends with each other, and suddenly it's okay. I go, because we both remembered that our winning is not as important as our being together. We don't have to win the fights. If we stay together and we end the fight, that's how we actually win. Pride is what keeps people fighting in a relationship. And I took the time, we both took a moment to listen to ourselves and listen to what the other one had to say, and took that into account and repeated back to the other one, look, I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to try and do this better. That's a big part. Now, whenever I met my wife, I was hooked on methamphetamines. I was going to jail, doing a lot of stupid stuff. She gave me an option. It was her or the meth. She'd watched her brother in and out of prison all of her life. She wasn't going to deal with anybody like that. Now, I don't hide things from my kids. I don't pretend like the ugliness of the world isn't there. Mm-hmm. Because with ugly, you can't have beauty. That's just how it works. So I don't hide my past. I don't disguise it. So I've told my children these things. So My daughter decides she wants to start dating. This is my oldest, now in college, but she decides she wants to take this boy to prom and all this stuff. I know it was supposed to be 35 years old, but I fell back on that one. I had tried to date her for like a year, and she refused and refused on the bounds that she wasn't going to date somebody who was drinking, especially drinking before they were 21. And she laid it out. She would not give. And so one day, just before prom, he comes to her and says, look, I've quit drinking. I'm not doing it anymore. It's not a part of who I am. I want to be with you. And so then she started dating him. You know, she held firm to those things. You know, the same way that my wife held firm to, I'm not going to be with a meth addict. My daughter decides she's not going to be with somebody who does drugs or drinks, who does these things that she just doesn't approve of for her own life. And so these lessons, being honest, not sugarcoating it, all my life as I was growing up, there was abuse, neglect, gambling, all this stuff that was just swept under the rug and hidden like it was a bad secret. We don't talk about it. Shh. Very, very damaging. Did a lot of damage going forward in my life. Did a lot of damage in the early years of my marriage. This guy can attest to that. I slept on his couch more times than I can count. It was in my life. He'd tell me exactly what I needed to know. Look, dude, you got my couch. I love you, bro. But you love your wife. And so the best thing for you to do is go and apologize. Because you know you done screwed up, AA Ron. You know you done screwed up. So, you know, that's this day is just being open.
Love that.
Just being real with your kids. They don't want to be lied to, and you can't pull the wool over their eyes. They're gonna read through the BS. They're gonna figure it out.
So we have a couple more comments in here. First of all, I see the one, let's teach our sons not to victimize women. You're preaching to the choir. There's a bunch of hallelujah in here. That is something that we can fight all day, every day, and it's going to take.
But it's the same with men too. I feel you shouldn't victimize either one.
You can go any way with this.
Occasionally, my sons will backtalk to their mother.
Oh yeah.
Occasionally, and I jump them. I jump them over it. And I said, no, dude, you don't talk to your moms like that. You go and apologize to her. You treat women with decency and respect. And I go to timeout. You're done.
Right.
Cooked. 5 minutes, Alexa. Put 5 minutes on the timer. So, yeah.
Yeah, that we will continue to work with that. That is a huge goal for, I think, both of us since we have daughters. It's a safer world for them if we teach our sons correctly, too. As far as being able to service people outside the Pocatello area, yes. I work from home. I do utility design from home, so I spend 90% of my day on the computer, and with one headset in for work and one headset in for Dadspeak. So we will get you that contact information here in just a minute. I just want to read through the last couple of comments on here. So
Thank you, Amanda. That means a lot.
Education for parents of kids with disabilities. I actually talked to a lady. She's one of my great friends at this point, Katie. She lives in Austin, Texas. Her son is disabled. And talking to her and her significant other, Mark, we talk all the time about the difficulties of children with disabilities. Just like we're teaching sons not to victimize women, we as a society are not good with people with disabilities, and we need to improve. That's the thing. They are stressed to their max. I mean, their son just turned 2 sometime during the pandemic, and they're significantly worried. He has a lowered immune system. He has the inability to speak at this point. It's a very difficult situation, and most of what parents with kids with disabilities needs, they need emotional support all day, every day. If you forget about them for, a week, they will be calling and crying. So advocating for parents with kids with disabilities, that's something that I will do as long as the parents are as wonderful as these two parents, right? There is a huge difficulty with kids with disabilities in broken homes because of the way the world treats people. I would never turn somebody away and say, no, I won't talk to you. But having a child with a disability, just like children view their parents as being part of them, parents view their children as being from them. And it will wreck their relationship, it will wreck their world if their child is in any way disabled. And that will split relationships and make things 100 times more complicated. So I'm not sure the appropriate path to go down for that one, but that is definitely something that the world over needs to do a better job at.
For me, I'm with Nathan. I don't really know the direction to go. I know that, so I've got a cousin who's autistic. I've got, my wife is a special education preschool teacher. She was with Head Start, now she's with early intervention. And even that, I still didn't quite understand the approach to special needs until I actually became a substitute in one of those early intervention or one of those special education classrooms. And that really opened up my mind and broadened my understanding of there's the approach isn't different. They need and want the same thing that every other child needs. They might need it on a little heavier scale. So I think it just comes down to education, support, and just branching out the support.
It's the difference between landing an airplane and landing a helicopter. They both got to make it to the ground. How they do that, they're not related. What does our organization need?
I'd say right now,
time
yeah, I'd say every organization needs resources, but what I really want to emphasize is getting the word of mouth out there, spreading what we do politically, spreading what we do to other organizations that need to team up with organizations like ours. Whether if it's a Head Start program, if it's within the social work, health and welfare. We just want to be a resource really for the people. We can't do our job if we have no people to do that for. Like Nathan said, most of what we do right now is word of mouth. And we want to team up with like-minded individuals to help secure better futures and fathers becoming better dads.
And we can throw as much resources as we can at any problem, and it will always still be a problem. But if we leverage those resources at the right moments and in the right places, it makes everybody's life and jobs easier. We've talked before about involvement with people who are incarcerated. If you get involved with someone who's incarcerated halfway through their incarceration, you are at the hardest part of the road that you can be at. If you can start off at the beginning, start making plans ahead of time, start making plans when you first know that there's a problem, or as you're going through the process, every time there's a little bit of a change. Because especially with my younger daughter's mom, she's, again, been in and out of jail a lot. And every time she comes out of jail, she's like, I want to see her. I want to hang out with her. And for like 3 years, we lived in Texas, so there's just no possibility. So it's all internet and phone calls, which is another reason we get good at the technology. People can call and Skype with me, or call and do a Zoom meeting. This is my first Zoom meeting, but I use 18 other messaging apps, so it's pretty familiar. But yeah, if we know a place that is a good fulcrum to leverage for the entire community, that's the best, right? Just speaking from a math guy standpoint.
Right. And I don't know if you said it. I kind of zoned out for a minute. I'm not gonna lie. ADD. That's my favorite excuse. Me and Nate, we were talking about it yesterday, and on the incarcerated part of it, children of incarcerated parents. Well, a lot of those things come into place at the end of the incarceration. So you've already lost all this time. So if we can get in there as a community, as Dadspeak, as social workers, if we can get in there and at the beginning of the incarceration, when the break of that bondage, the break of those bonds just begin, and help keep that relationship fostered between father and child or mother and child, we're going to have a lot healthier outcomes and a lot more chance of, what's the word, whenever they come back into the community?
Reintegration.
Reintegration and reunification. So we feel like that is the time to really get ahead of the problem, is right there at the beginning.
And it stems a lot of other issues from being incarcerated, right? Like if you are incarcerated knowing that you have people on the outside who care for you and love you, your life incarcerated is easier than your life if you're on your own, right? If everyone cuts off everything, you will make the wrong friends.
Now, as a man who's been incarcerated, I could say that he's right on many of that. It does make your own time a little bit harder because you're hard time it. You can't see the people you want to see, can't kiss the women you want to kiss, can't hug the children you want to hug. It makes it very difficult. But it's not about me. It's not about her. It's about the child. It's about my children. I'm going to take that hard time, and I will do it every moment of the day if it means that my child gets the bond that she needs with me or he needs with me. So, any others?
Yeah. I swear I just got these glasses.
And I forgot my glasses at home. That does not help. We need your present. Malia, did I ruin that? What is your area?
Think we've got mine on. Okay.
What is going on? Is this thing being weird? Any other questions for you?
Twin Falls.
Twin Falls. Okay.
Okay.
I've got some people over there too. I'd say let's connect. You can hit us right now, dadspeak19@gmail.com. As we're getting everything else figured out, you can get us on Facebook. We do have Dadspeak on Facebook. So.
And we can easily do a lot of telecommuting, especially at this time.
Yeah.
We're all learning really good skills about telecommuting.
All right. I don't know if we're at time. It looks like we're getting close. Probably have a time for one or two more questions if you got them.
Can you type the Gmail in, but not privately? Let's do it to everyone.
All right. Let's go here. Everyone in meeting. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. You do the typing.
Oh, I don't want to do the typing.
Don't be an ant.
I got that right. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions for us, comments, things we can do better with our lives?
We definitely appreciate everything, you guys being where you are and doing what you do. Thank you to Roger for reaching out and asking us to do this. Would love to be a resource for any of you in the future. Give us a shout out, and we're definitely happy to be there. Male involvement is our lives. It's all we know how to do. Children.
Welcome. Thank you.
And remember to fill out your response cards or whatever it was. So, give us
Evaluate us
feedback.
because we
If it's bad
like to
feedback,
learn and grow.
lie to us because we don't. No, I'm just playing. We need to learn how to grow and do this better and better every time. So, thank you guys.
Oh, I just